And we are live. Hello, everyone. So, welcome back. This is our final primary night of the year. Next time you see me live, it'll be in November. So, let's get right into this. Let's have Dante join us. So, hey, Dante, how are
Hello,
you?
everyone. I'm doing well. Doing well.
All right. So we're live right now. We're looking at New Hampshire, but we might have to move to Rhode Island very quickly. So run us down. Let's give us some information behind this New Hampshire race right here.
What race is this?
Republican Senate.
Okay. Well, Republicans have a contested Senate primary in the state of New Hampshire, a seat that they are going to be targeting pretty intensely in November. As you can see, it's a pretty close race so far between Chuck Morse and Don Bolduc. Chuck Morse is the state Senate president, and Don Bolduc is a retired Army Brigade general. Bolduc ran for this seat in 2020, but he lost the primary. As a result, he kind of starts with a bit of a name recognition advantage. Republicans want Chuck Morse to be the nominee because he's a bit more moderate and has focused less on issues like election fraud, where that Bolduc has focused his campaign on that more intensely. So yeah, that's really been the divide in this race, but it is essentially functionally a two-man race. There's no other candidate with a chance of winning. Most polls have had Bolduc ahead, some by more than others, but we will see. Democratic groups have interfered in this race, running ads attacking Morse for being too conservative, similar to their strategy in the Missouri Senate race in 2012.
All right, so we're going down to the. Let's look at some of this House races. New Hampshire 1 and 2.
Well, it's very close in New Hampshire 1, where Republicans are looking for their nominee to take on Chris Pappas. This is technically it's an Republican leaning district. It's R+1. Uh, so they have a couple candidates that are leading the field. This includes Caroline Leavitt, who is a former White House press aide from the Trump admin, and former Trump White House advisor Matt Mowers, who was the nominee for this seat in 2020. This seat was originally supposed to become a bit redder, but Chris Sununu refused to support the gerrymander, so it's going to be a pretty close race now either way. But certainly, Leavitt was more focused on 2020 fraud and being anti-abortion as her campaign issue, which may explain why Kevin McCarthy and Steve Scalise have endorsed Mowers. A couple other candidates in this race include Gail Huff Brown, a former TV reporter who's married to Scott Brown, the former senator, and State Representative Tim Baxter. So they are candidates who also may have an outside shot at competing, but we will see. And then in New
And we
Hampshire,
have so yeah, I'm gonna just interrupt and say that we have a very close race in the Rhode Island governors. Do you want me to go through it right quick?
yeah, we can go there.
All right, so we is a very close race between McKee and it is basically McKee is behind right now by a very slim margin right here.
Yes, he's
So
trailing
tell
Helena
me when
Baker.
you have
So
this thing on your screen.
I have it.
All right. All right, so give me some backgrounds in this.
Dan McKee is not the incumbent governor. He's he is the incumbent governor, but he's not your traditional incumbent. He ascended to the office after Gina Raimondo was appointed Secretary of Commerce in 2021. So he's been governor for for about a year and a half now. This was at the beginning of 2021, but he's never been elected in his own right. So this is his first primary for governor. And needless to say, he was challenged by a pretty wide-ranging field. Right now, he trails Helena Folks, who is the former CVS health executive. In third place, with about 25%, quite a bit in her own right, is Secretary of State Nellie Gorbea, and then getting about 8% is former Secretary of State Matt Brown, who was I think this is his second time running for governor. I think he ran against Raimondo a few years ago. Whoever wins this race will enter November
All right,
as a pretty
and
hefty favorite, but Rhode Island has had some competitive governor's elections
so
the last few years.
So what do you think is gonna go into this race? How is McKee gonna win this?
Well, at the end of the day, McKee is still the incumbent, even if he's not what you would look at as a strong one. So, if he prevails, it may very well be his name recognition. From his name recognition, but we'll see. A little less interesting in the Republican primary.
All right,
Ashley was.
So I'm looking at the county map. We have Providence, the main city. Gorbea is actually in ahead, and that's the only county that she's winning right now. The rest is Folks and McKee. So go over to Lieutenant Governor right quick. We know it's called, but was there any interest in this race?
No, it's kind of the same scenario. She's not an actual incumbent because she was appointed after Raimondo left office. McKee appointed her.
All right, and we got in their crucial Rhode Island race down in Rhode Island 2. So
it appears they called it for.
Can you go into depth about Rhode Island 2?
Well, Representative Jim Langevin is retiring, and it appears that they've called it for Rhode Island General Treasurer Seth Magaziner. Magaziner was originally running for governor, but he saw a better opportunity in this seat. Magaziner has never really faced all that much of a primary. There was some talk, as you can see. He did only end up getting 53%, but that was far more than any of his opponents got. With, that's a former state representative David Siegel with about 16%, former Commerce Department lawyer. Sarah Morgenthau also broke 10% with about 12% in her own right, but nothing that serious. So now he's on to the general election. This is a D+16 district, but Republicans like their candidate, former Cranston Mayor Alan Fung. Fung has run for governor twice in the last two elections. He's won the nominations both times.
He was the past two. Yeah.
But they feel he can pull off a win in this seat.
He was the past.
It is the bluest seat that seems to be vulnerable. Of course, the recent issues with, Dobbs and all that stuff may take a seat like this off the table.
So why do you think Republicans think that Fung has a chance in a D+16 seat?
Just candidate strength. Fung, regardless of Fung's electoral track record, he has been at least competitive in governor's elections these last few years, which is more than you can say for a lot of Rhode Island Republicans. So I think Republicans have at least decent reason to be excited about his candidacy, but as I said, I think his chances have really faded by quite a bit with what's gone on with Dobbs and stuff. And this is obviously still a blue leaning district, even if it's trended a little Republican in the last few years.
So this seat is partially in danger, but it is still most likely going to go Democrats. Fung has hardly a chance in the 538 model, but it is still something to watch because how close he gets to uh Magaziner.
Yeah, Magaziner is a pretty strong candidate for Democrats. As you can see, he did wipe up what should have been a pretty wide open primary field pretty easily. I think if I'd have to check, but I think I rate this race as lean Democrat. But
I've had a likely Democrat, I think, in my
it's closer to likely than it is to toss
ratings.
up. I'll put it that way. I'll keep it. I've kept it up, but it's closer to likely than it is to toss up. Something to watch, though, as it is a district that has trended a little bit towards Republicans as of late, just because it takes up more of Rhode Island's rural areas, but still quite blue.
All right, so back up to governor right quick. So we got tons of votes very early on. It's been 71% for a bit now. So why do you think so when do we expect final vote results here?
Well, polls closed about 50 minutes ago. We've already got about 71% in. I don't know exactly when we can say we'll have all the votes counted, but I would guess there's still a decent amount of time left. But hopefully we'll know in the next half hour or so. Of course, this race is pretty close, so who knows exactly if we're going to be able to make a call or not. If I am reading the state correct, I think McKee is probably like the slight favorite right now. But I'm not really well versed in Rhode Island politics, at least in the specifics of it, so I couldn't say that for sure. I just look at some of the more populated areas.
So
he tends to be doing better there.
Yeah. Right now, McKee focuses is leading in Warwick. That is the second most populous area. And in Providence, Gorbea is leading. However, McKee is in second in both.
Andy, he's gone on mute.
Sorry, I had to take a phone call right quick. So let's see. So again, like I said, this is a close race, but so where is McKee most likely going to gain?
Well, there's about 51% in Providence, and he is second to Gorbea there. Obviously, this has been a very regional primary, but that's a place where he could maybe net more votes. Looking at Warwack, he's second to Fulkus there, so maybe that's another place where he could gain more votes, although there's 62% in there. Generally, you're looking at he's
I
done
don't think
quite well.
I think Providence is
rural areas.
I think Providence is the only county for Gorbea right now.
Yeah, so yeah. I would guess, and I don't know for sure, but I would guess she is likely from Providence. That would make a decent amount of sense.
In these rural areas where McKee is leading, he's not doing particularly well. He is hardly ahead. He is, however, ahead in that huge suburb of East Providence, which is right outside the city, and he could get a lot of benefit from that.
I think we're waiting for mostly E-Day votes. We'll see. Maybe, or some states.
I'm gonna check and see what Washington is saying right now.
McKee just took the lead.
McKee just took the lead. All right. And it is just 148 votes ahead. And where did these votes come from?
I think they're doing. Actually, my mistake. I think they're counting early votes now. They were counting E-Day, and I think they're counting early.
All right. So,
also, they filled in this last county, but
all right,
folks winning it from there. I'll check Wasserman.
All right.
I don't know if he's watching.
I'm looking at. He was watching earlier.
He hasn't said too much. He called it for Magaziner about 30 minutes ago. But outside of that, he hasn't really said anything that we don't already know. I think all the outlets called it for Magaziner pretty early.
He said that it's nothing yet about the Rhode Island governor, I think. He has said nothing about the Rhode Island governor, which is odd.
He has not, although he says it's looking good for Bolduc. Although Bolduc is still trailing, so I'm guessing he knows something that we don't. Of course, Democrats spend a lot of money to interfere a bit in New Hampshire. They were looking for a Bolduc win. They might get one. They were looking for a Leavitt win. New Hampshire won. In New Hampshire, too, where they're defending Annie Custer, they wanted to help kind of prop up former Hillsborough County Treasurer Bob Burns, who is a bit more extreme, versus Keene Mayor George Hansel. Hansel's up by 5, but that's a decrease from his early lead.
It seems like that Pelosi has put Peltola on the National Resources Committee and Pat Ryan on the Armed Services Committee. And I don't know when and Mike Lindell's phone was seized by the FBI. That's the news I've been getting from Twitter right now, other than these election results.
I wonder if Joe Simpolinski has been placed onto any committees.
I think McCarthy controls his committees, right?
Yeah, he'd just get to be minority members. But he's not running for the full term, so.
Yeah. He probably only be placed on the Commerce or something like that.
So only 2 vacancies left in the House. Although the expectation is there will be one more before then. We don't know exactly when Ted Dutch is going to retire, but resign, but he's already retiring, and he said he's not going to finish his term. He's going to be out before October, so we will see. There will be no special election held to replace him.
All right,
There'll
here's
be one to replace Charlie Crist, also from Florida.
all right. So this is kind of ironic. The Republicans have a 72% chance of taking the House. The Democrats have 72% to retain the Senate on the 538 on the 538 models.
Interesting.
I must add, a month and a half ago, or 2.5 months ago, when the model started, the Republicans were at 53% of taking the Senate and 88% chance of taking the House.
Yeah, it's lowered. I've heard that there's going to be a Marist poll from Ohio next pretty soon, so
Yeah,
that should be good because we have not got really a high quality Ohio poll.
One of your followers one of the people you follow got pulled by the Marist.
Yeah, I may have seen him. I might have seen someone else. I don't know. I saw it from a couple people. But someone I followed did. Well, I always thought he lived in North Carolina, so I don't know. I know it's not really an issue that needs to be discussed, but I find it kind of hilarious that Tim Ryan running for president has received basically zero attention at all since he announced his run for Senate. I kind of forgot he'd even run for president for many years, but he did.
Didn't he get embarrassed twice?
No, he didn't really impact the race. I mean, he made those early debates where they basically just let everyone on the stage. And I don't think he got to talk too much. He fought a bit with
Yeah, that's why he got embarrassed.
I wrote the damn bill. Yeah, that was his moment. But he didn't really have an actual impact on the race. I don't remember when he dropped out, but I think it was around the October debate. I think eventually.
He got embarrassed by Tulsi, I believe. I think he got embarrassed by Tulsi on that first debate.
He did have a clash with Tulsi, if I recall correctly. He withdrew the day after my 15th birthday. I just looked it up.
We reached parity. Oh. But I think ever since Dobbs, the Republicans have become like I think they're still gonna have at least 10 seats gained in the House, because that is the consensus right here. The consensus on the 538, the poll is between 218 and 225. That's about and then at 12, I think, because they are at 213. You're at 213, right?
Let me check. They're about, maybe it might be 214 now.
No, because Alaska flipped. It would have been 214 if.
Actually, they're at 212 because the lady died. The lady from Indiana.
Oh yeah, Walorski died.
Yeah, Jackie Walorski.
I forgot about Walorski.
They're at 212. Yeah.
But they need but with the vacant Walorski seat, they'll be at 213. The Democrats with the 2 vacancies, they'll be at 222. The same, so they're back at the same composition from after 2020. So the Republicans need 5 in November, and I think we'll probably see that around 8 o'clock. So the House would still be pretty quickly called. I'm assuming the
not
House
really
is going to be called around 8 o'clock because
I'm not making any hard predictions about November anymore. I don't think anyone knows what's going to happen. I don't trust any polls.
Yeah.
It's all over the place now.
There was some crazy polls earlier. There was some crazy polls earlier that had what was it, like Laura Kelly up 12 and Moran up 19?
Yeah.
Ever since Joe Biden's approval has been on the hike as well. He's reached his highest point since, I think, January.
Yeah. And I think this abortion ban that they've introduced is a disaster.
All right, looking at McKee right quick. He is expanding his lead. He is now at 208. Oh wow. We just got tons of votes now. McKee is now ahead by 2,000 votes.
Oh, so I guess this is 91% in, so this is probably not on track to be that close in the end. Well, it's not exactly comforting for him
he
that
just took a read in a lot of counties. 30%.
I wouldn't say it's comforting for him that he got like 30. He only got 33% of the vote. I wouldn't say that's ideal, but
he took the lead in Warwick. That's why. He has a lead in Warwick. And I think he's probably about to take the lead in Providence. No, I think Gorbea is going to hang on there, but Warwick is going to flip from folks to McKee. A lot in Cranston flipped from folks to McKee. This island right here flipped from folks to McKee, and that was pretty much what happened so far. Like a lot of counties just switched over from McKee to McKee.
You can probably make the argument that McKee loses a race where it's a 1v1 rather than a 1v. He has 4 challengers. He has three of the 4 are getting over 5% of the vote. So you can argue that maybe if it's a 1-on-1, he doesn't win. But clearly he took advantage of his situation, and he's not been exactly a popular governor. But at the end of the day, incumbency is incumbency. Of course, we see incumbents like this lose pretty often nowadays, but it is still incumbency. If you want examples of incumbents losing these primaries, Luther Strange in Alabama. Are you good?
All right, so apparently, Angie Craig, the congresswoman from Minnesota, lost money because her kid traded stocks.
Oh.
That's why you don't allow kids to mess with your money.
Dave Lasserin is still quiet. I wonder what's going on in Delaware.
Oh, they don't have Delaware on here on the CNN one.
Yeah, there's so little going on there that I think they just forgot to put it on. It has no Senate race this year. Its governors are
I'll try.
president. It has governor presidential years. It's really basically nothing.
It's just a representative, right?
Yeah, it's just not. And obviously, Lisa Blunt Rochester is not going to lose her re-election. So yeah.
Let me try to find results right quick for Delaware.
I don't know if you want another close race. It looks like New Hampshire Senate is pretty tight.
All right, so I'm looking through Twitter trying to find any news on Delaware. There's nothing on there.
Senator, I think he's actually doing better in this primary than I thought he would. Although later votes might benefit the more MAGA candidates.
Yeah, there's nothing here from Delaware primary on CNN. I think both Delaware. Apparently Biden voted today. Apparently Biden voted today.
Biden voted? Oh, yeah. Well, he is from Delaware. So I guess he would just mail in the ballot.
Let me see if New York Times has anything. No, CNN said he flew to Delaware to vote. There is a state auditor race, but I think that's it for.
Yeah, it's. I read on the New York Times.
I think LBR is uncontested. Yeah, I think LBR is unopposed.
Well, it matters to the people who live in Delaware. For our purposes, it doesn't matter. But for the people who live in the state, it's all important. It's something to always remember with these. It seems like the votes as they've come in New Hampshire have benefited the more MAGA-leaning candidates. But everything's coming in so slowly from here. Because New Hampshire polls closed at 4. They closed 2 hours ago, and we're at 20% in.
4?
I think Georgia does this. Yeah, I think Georgia does this exact. 4 my time, 7 Eastern.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because they have partial poll closings at 7, and then the rest at 8. And the midnight towns. Did they do that this year, or is it just the general?
I don't think so. That might actually just be for president. I wonder. I don't know if they might do it. I wonder if they do it for the primary or not. I don't know. They might not. They might stop doing it if they lose their primary. They probably will. Let's be real here.
Right now, when did they start doing that?
I don't know. It's one of those old traditions. I assume it has something to do with them being the first primary state. That would make sense to me, but
yeah,
I don't know the origins of it. I just know that it's something they do.
I'm pretty sure I streamed Midnight Towns for like 9 minutes, literally 7 minutes more than I had to. Whoa, why is I just realized my username? All right, let me edit that. That's for my gaming channel. All right, there we go. I just now realized that. All right. So New Hampshire's pretty close. It's 121 votes.
Yeah. Obviously, both parties watching this closely. Democrats wanting Bulldog to win. Republicans wanting Morse to win.
Hansel is ahead by 581 votes in New Hampshire 2, and Levitt is ahead by 324 in New Hampshire 1. Waiting for Wasserman to tweet out something.
He's been tweeting that Bulldog is favored, so take that how you will.
Yeah.
But still.
Who's that Hawaii representative who decided to retire after one term and run for governor?
Kai Cahill. Keel. I don't know the exact pronunciation of his last name, but Kai something.
Because he just tweeted something. I don't want to even understand why he decided to retire and run for governor.
So the story behind this is that basically he just doesn't like being in Congress. I don't know if you know this, but he actually has been working his old job, which is like American Airlines or something involved in that. He actually still does that. I don't know what. I recall seeing something where like he hasn't actually cast an in-person vote in Congress in months, heading up into the primary. He went on like months-long breaks. And what I'll say about this is that it might not even necessarily be that he hates serving in Congress, but for the Hawaii and Alaska representatives, it has always been like very tough. That commute, you're changing time zones so harshly. You got to fly to DC so often, and it's a much tougher flight than it is for the continental states. So it's not for everybody. And I think he kind of just realized that. And obviously, prefer that he realizes that before he runs for office. But it is what it is. So I can't speak to that why he retired specifically.
Apparently, Rovember is.
That's been a rumor.
Hashtag Rovember is coming. It's trending on Twitter.
That might be the phrase. We'll see how the results go first, though. But that certainly might be what people are thinking come November.
I honestly think if Roe wasn't overturned, Republicans would be doing very well right now in the polls.
Well, it certainly made this a different type of midterm. You know, I think this was shaping up to be your pretty ordinary presidential midterm, and the Dobbs decision just has changed a lot of that. It has changed the stakes. People have generally cared about abortion more and more since that happened, and just generally, I think the court,
August 2nd was a huge indicator.
I think the court believed that they could do this without, they could get this massive priority for Republicans done without, actually engaging in that much backlash. I think the backlash was underestimated. And the truth is, it wasn't necessarily the worst calculation. A 15-week ban that they introduced today. There was a time pretty recently when that was still popular. That was still like an idea that people, were in favor of. And since the Dobbs decision, that has changed. So that's really what it comes down to.
Because I've seen in Wisconsin, Ron Johnson continued to he was favored, he was leaning Republican on 538 for a while, and then Johnson's thing just started to collapse. He's now tied with Mandela Barnes on that. Yeah, he's tied with Mandela Barnes on the odds. And he only leads the polling average forecasted polling by 0.2%.
Who is tied?
Johnson and Barnes in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. We'll see. As I said, I don't really trust polls.
Whoa! I did not notice this, but I just noticed this, that Utah went from safe R to lean R in the forecast. McMullen now has got it under 95% for Republicans.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think McMullen's going to win. I actually don't think that one's going to be that close. If there's a seat that I'm not really that, did you say it has a 50? What did you say the chance was? Because mine shows it's still 94% chance Lee.
I said 94. I said 94.6. Yeah, I said 50-50 was Wisconsin. Barnes 50, Johnson 50.
Yeah, I don't really see the scenario where McMullen wins. I don't see a scenario where he caucuses with Democrats in the Senate. Because he's really more similar to Romney.
He would, I think.
He said he wouldn't caucus with either party, but that's simply not you can't really do that,
Yeah, he's probably. Yeah,
it's not those things just there is no scenario in which you can do that, but it's just it's not going to happen.
Yeah, he's probably going to caucus with whatever Romney, because he's probably going to get endorsed. If Romney hasn't endorsed Mike Lee yet, either. And apparently, and I think Romney's still pretty popular there in Utah.
Well, Romney and Mike Lee both voted for McMullen in 2016, so hey, I guess it is what it is. But yeah, I think the only thing that would convince him to caucus with the Democrats is like the fact that the Democrats are currently the ones who are basically bankrolling his campaign. Like they have explicitly dropped all their candidates to support him. And Democrats will do that, but like when it was Al Gross, like Al Gross explicitly said he'd caucus with the Democrats. Angus King makes a fuss about it every so often, but he always caucuses with the Democrats. Obviously, Bernie never causes any trouble. So, I think he'll have to look at that model. I think it's an interesting experiment because, like, obviously no Democrat will ever win in Utah, and that's going to include him once he actually does. If he were to get elected, he would not win re-election by most standards if he caucused with the Democrats. But still.
Yeah, it's probably. I don't even. I think the last time a Democrat won in Utah, Senate was 76. Well, not even 76. I think 1974.
Yeah, it's been a few decades. So looking at the New Hampshire results, since that's where the action is now, Bulldog has retaken the lead. It's still close, but definitely
All right, let me
looks like
get it
he's
over to New Hampshire.
got the momentum here.
My goodness, it is taking so long here. Only 23 person in.
We got more traffic. We got some traffic.
And Sununu fell under 80%. Don't think that's any problem for him.
No, it's fine. It's clear that the votes coming in are a little more right-leaning, so it is what it is. We got some Trafalgar polling.
All right. Whatever.
So for whatever reason, they're polling attorney general races, which I guess is interesting just for like a generic ballot check. So I'm just going to say the party because I know no one's going to recognize attorney general candidates off name. Georgia R+8. Michigan D+2.
That's Raffensperger. Wait, no, that's not
Raffensperger Secretary of State. Michigan
Yeah.
D+2. Ohio R+16. So far. Here's the kicker one, though. New York R+1.
Yeah, that is not happening. I'm sorry, Republicans, but that ain't happening.
I think they're beginning to make up some of these numbers.
Yeah, obviously. Trafalgar. Oh, Wasserman just tweeted. He just tweeted it a minute ago. It's looking up for Governor Dan McKee in Rhode Island governor in primary, with a new ballot drop putting him ahead of Pelosi endorsed CBS executive Helena Folk. He's 33-30.
Yeah, well, I do think that one's over. All the ballots we've gotten these last few minutes have like benefited him near exclusively. I don't really see where he'd lose it at this point.
Bro, the members of the Freedom Caucus are insane. I swear to God.
Well, with a good 26% going to Gorbea, I think you can argue that might have swung the race.
Which one are you talking about?
In Rhode Island Gov for the third place candidate.
In what county?
Oh, just overall, she got 26%.
Yeah.
Well,
But yeah, I wonder what happens if the Republicans doesn't get like. I think the goal for Republicans now is at least 230. Like like they need Kevin needs to hope he gets 230 in my opinion.
Yeah, to hold together the caucus, he needs a much bigger majority than just a couple seats.
Yeah, he needs at least 230. Emmer's probably done as well.
I'm looking to see if there's anything new.
Have you seen
well,
Kinzinger's new Have you seen Kinzinger's profile picture?
no.
It's that
Well,
dog meme on the airplane.
well, there's a new poll for Connecticut Gov that has Lamont up 11.
Is that Trafalgar or is it just?
It's Emerson. Emerson's like a decentish pollster. They get some weird results, but they're decent. An internal for
How
Michael
about our
Franklin.
small state?
Internal for Michael Franklin that has him down 4. Another poll that has Tim Walz up.
That's 4 to 15, right?
No, Michael Franklin is Iowa Senate.
Oh, Iowa. Oh, I thought you said Michael Franklin. I was like, is that the congressman from 4 to 15? I was like, no, that's Scott Franklin.
No, yeah. I don't know how to feel about Iowa because I don't think there's any chance that Grassley actually loses. Even if the environment wasn't getting worse for Republicans. But he's 90 years old.
Grassley's very popular in Iowa, though.
Yeah, but eventually you have to assume that he'll get penalized.
There's probably going to be a special one. There's probably going to be a special in the next 2 years, probably.
Although, yeah, and either he dies or he pulls an info and resigns a year in. I do agree that either way, we're probably getting a special election. But I think this race is going to be closer than the governor's race. And I guess there's a scenario in which it's maybe single digits. I just don't think it's a high chance. I think it's low chance. But public polls, Selzer had it 7 points, and Selzer was one of the few polls in 2020 that was kind of right. So they know Iowa. We'll see. I'm assuming we'll get another poll from them before the cycle ends. Obviously, there's not too much to look at in Iowa this year. In retrospect, that Seltzer poll from Iowa should have been a big warning. I remember looking at it. It had Trump up by 10 or so. It had Greenfield losing. It had Finkenauer losing. And I was like, okay, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, Iowa has pretty... Finkenauer... Iowa's congressional districts are close, but it's they're always going to be close except for the 4th, but that's about it.
Well, they're not going to be that close this year for the most part. I think Iowa 4 is obviously never going to be close again. That was just a unique.
The only reason why I think it was only because Steve King was controversial.
Yeah. By the end of his tenure, Steve King was pretty much an open white supremacist. So it was more than just controversial. He was pretty explicit that he was a proud white supremacist. Yeah, so the
and he paid the
last
price
time
for it.
Seltzer polled Iowa, they had Reynolds up 17 in the governor's race, but Grassley up just 8 in the Senate race. So there's probably going to be a pretty decent shift this time. Things change a lot in 4 years. And 4 years ago, I had Iowa Gov as lean Democrat on election day. This year, I'm probably going to have it as safe Republican
Iowa
on
Gov
election day.
Yeah, I would change this. Oh, I was close. It's still like potentially a battleground, but it's just like Ohio. Like it changes.
I don't look at Iowa. I don't look at either of them as a battleground anymore. I think as far as it goes, I think Tim Ryan is like the last shot for Democrats in Ohio. Like frankly, I don't.
Well,
think
Brown is next.
I don't think he's going to win again. If I had to pick it now, I don't think I would pick him to win in a presidential year when Biden's probably going to lose the state by like 10.
But he's still popular.
He might not run again. He might just retire. He doesn't strike me as a guy who wants to be in the Senate for a billion years.
He's still pretty popular, though.
He's still popular. It's just, it's weird. I mean, I've seen some polls.
I was surprised he won in 18.
Down by like 2018. I was not that surprised. I actually remember I was surprised by how close it was in 2018. 2018 was kind of the shift in Ohio for me. That was another race I had as lean Democrat in the governor's race, and they lost it. I mean, you can make the argument.
To be honest, Ohio, it was close.
It was close. It was close, but I had Democrats winning it.
I really had it split. I had Brown safe Democrat, and I have Republicans winning it on my weird governor map.
Yeah, that was bad. I'm gonna guess I had Brown like likely or something. I'll check. I have to go back, but I know I have it somewhere. Likely sounds right. I don't think I had it as lean.
What do you think of Mehmet Oz's chance at winning?
Oh yeah, I had Ohio at likely D. The states I had at lean D were Montana, West Virginia, Florida, Arizona, and Nevada. I'll take 4 for 5.
You got 4 to 5 down.
Florida was the one. Florida was the one miss. I was one state away from a perfect Senate map that year.
You had it 52-48, right?
Yeah, I would have had 52-48. So a net gain of 1 for Republicans.
I was back and forth on Florida for a bit on my Senate.
Yeah, I think that was one of the states I left till the very end. And if I recall correctly, just looking at the map and like trying to like bring it and just like looking at the states that are on the map because I can kind of guess. I think that one I had a toss up till the very end because I pick a candidate in every race at the end, right? Like I wait till the end and pick a candidate every race. I think I had Florida, Arizona.
Yeah. You never have tilts.
I don't do tilts. I don't do toss-ups at the end. Sometimes I will do a toss-up at the end if I'm predicting a runoff. So a couple times in Georgia, I have left it as toss-up. In 2018, I left it as a toss-up, which ended up being incorrect because it didn't go to a runoff, but it is what it is. Although I did say Kemp would finish in first, so I got that, I guess. Yeah, so anyway, the states I had at toss-up at the end of 2018 were Florida, Arizona, Nevada, Missouri, Indiana. And I picked Republicans to flip Missouri and Indiana, Democrats to flip Nevada and Arizona, and Democrats to flip Florida. So if they'd held on to Florida, I would have had a perfect map. pretty good for my first year prognosticating elections. Of course, I had an embarrassing 2020 where I kind of got on hopium.
Honestly, think Georgia is the new.
What was
I
that?
honestly think that Georgia is the new Florida.
Yeah, Florida seems pretty red these days. Although I do think Florida will be closer than people think it is. I just don't see it ever being like a double-digit state. At the same time, I guess Marco Rubio won by a decent amount in 2016.
Yeah,
But he didn't really face that serious.
I think that's what Republicans are on now, opium. Oh wait, no. I think everyone's on hopium right now for both parties.
I'm not really. I still think it's going to be a pretty close midterm. 2020, I was one of the people who
Trump. He outran Trump by like 7.
In 2020, I was one of the people who had Biden getting 413 votes. I had him winning Iowa, Ohio, Texas. I actually have a fake 2020 map that I show people that is not the one I really made. Because you've seen the one I really made, so I can't really like defraud you with it.
Yeah.
So when people ask now, I have one that's almost correct, but not quite correct. I have one miss on it. I put one miss on it. I put North Carolina as blue on that one. So it doesn't look too perfect.
I think I'm pretty bad. I think on my channel I had a little bit of hopium on, but I was trying to be accurate, but I was pretty
I think my
biased towards Biden, and I apologize for that.
I think my 2022 map is going to be much more. You know, the funny thing is my Senate map was actually just fine in 2020 for the most part. Like I didn't pick Democrats like to flip Iowa or Montana or anything like that. I did pick them to flip North Carolina and Maine. I'm not going to take the blame for Maine. Clearly, polling had no clue.
I did not expect that to happen.
Well, the funny thing about Maine is because of the ranked choice voting, Susan Collins, that race actually probably would have flipped if Susan Collins had gotten just a few less votes because she only got 51%. But that was all she needed to avoid a ranked choice result, and then Sarah Gideon just did not do well. Yeah, so I certainly kind of sold there. And North Carolina.
Cal Cunningham sold on himself.
Well, New Hampshire is still going slow. I think I'm going to go. I got some stuff to do.
Yeah. I got some AP bio stuff to do. So thanks everyone for tuning in to the final. All right. Thanks for joining us, Dante.
See you all in 2023.
All right. Thank you for Dante for joining us on this final primary night. I'm going to go over the final results for you right quick. So Sununu 79.6. Right now it is called for Sununu. Budok has a lead of about 55 votes. We should be closing that very closely. Okay, and New Hampshire, just Levitt and Hansel both have 33%. In Rhode Island, McKee looks like he is on his way to victory. And yeah, I think that's all. Thank you all for joining us on our final primary night. Me and Dante will see you guys on the primary in 2023. And we'll probably and you probably will see Dante a bit in November. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you guys in November. Well, in the stream in November. Peace out.